But yeah, the only thing worse than a shoelace in your cheeseburger is half a shoelace in your cheeseburger. The Bruins are one of the teams in the NHL right now. This is the Garden Level Podcast.
This is hockey right here.
Bruins! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
It's the Garden Level Podcast. Dan Conlon, Cam Stewart here. If you hate the Maple Leafs, do us a favor, hit subscribe. Limited spots left if you want to be in the first 100. You know what they say about those investors, first 100. Only got 2 spots left at the time of this recording. Hit subscribe. Find us on YouTube, of course, and wherever you find your podcast as well. We'll have a nice little present for those who are in the second 100 of the subscribers there. So if you've just missed out, don't worry. We will have something in store for you. You can also find us on Twitter and TikTok as well. Dan, it's the first Garden Level Pod of 2026. Do you feel like a new man?
I feel better than Luke Hughes, who scored 2 own goals yesterday and got booed by his own fans. But yeah, feel good. Got the resolutions, and looking forward to 2026. I tweeted out in 2026, James Higgins should be playing for the Boston Bruins. So that's something to look forward to. Saw a quick glimpse of what him and Zellers looked like playing together. So looking like a bright future for the Bruins. We got to see some of that in World Juniors, and we got some Olympics coming up in 2026 to look forward to.
And let me tell you, you just put Will Zellers and James Higgins together, folks. We could be looking at the 1985 Edmonton Oilers coming up with the Bruins.
That's the bar.
In the next couple of years. That's the floor. That's the expectation. It's going to take a lot to exceed it. You big resolution guy? Do you do resolutions?
I wouldn't say resolutions. I would just say goals. Write down a few goals on a piece of paper. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So
it's more manly. I think that's more manly. Set goals. Set goals.
Yeah.
It's episode 14, which we've started to do for the last couple, like the great Bruins who have worn the number of the episode that we're doing. And this is a big one for you, Dan, in particular. Both of us, actually. We're both kind of have similar memories, it sounds like. Your greatest ever Bruin, number 14.
I wouldn't be able to pick anyone else than the first jersey I got as a Bruins fan, and that is Mr. Sergei Samsonov.
Damn.
It caused a little bit of controversy at the time. Obviously, Joe Thornton was still on the team, and the family thought Joe Thornton was the better choice, the more safer choice of someone that will probably retire as a Bruin, and they were wrong. So I guess I was right. Samsonov, I think, maybe played one more year as the Bruin than Thornton, and then I was looking up his career, and he low key he played for the Canadians for a year.
He did.
I did not remember that, but. Yeah, gotta go.
I learned that through Chell, by the way. That's how I learned that he played for Montreal. It was like Timmy with the Panthers. Like nobody remembers Tim Thomas playing for the Panthers, right? Which real funny, kind of quick aside, because you mentioned Luke Hughes. Not a big gamer myself, but I do have a PlayStation 4 because one of my friends gave it to me for free, and so sometimes when I'm bored, I'll just do it. I have Chell 21, 22. One of those, and they have a World Juniors mode. And so last week I was playing World Juniors. I didn't look at the rosters before I started playing with Team USA. And all of a sudden I'm on the rush up the ice with a defenseman, number 43, Hughes. And I'm like, shit, yeah, man. I'm Quinn Hughes right now as a World Junior. Like, that's so sick. And I scored as Hughes, and he goes through the line. It's friggin' Luke Hughes. I'm like, God, damn it. Damn it. And it did hit me. I feel for the guy. He's the Billy Ripken of this situation, right? He's actually got 2 brothers who are like elite superstars playing for Team USA, which we'll talk about later. And then there's Luke Hughes. So sorry, I didn't mean to fully, extract you from your Sergei Samsonov thing, because I'm a huge Sergei Samsonov fan myself. But that I thought you'd appreciate that moment this week.
Thanks.
One thing I also didn't learn till later This is like something we don't talk about a lot in hockey, the way we do with like baseball, for example. Like it took me a while to learn that Sergei Samsonov won the Calder. He won Rookie of the Year. Did you know that?
No, I'm
I
not
hate
gonna
to put
lie
you
and
on the
say I didn't.
spot, but yeah, like look, I'm like ridiculous with those things, and I didn't know. So that's weird, man. Like we
I
just
mean,
don't.
was he?
Raycroft won it too, but
Yeah,
like
I
you
was gonna say.
never hear about it. I
Because
don't
I know
know.
there hasn't been a recent Bruin rookie that has won Calder. We know that.
No, I didn't know. I think Raycroft's the last one
Raycroft is probably the last one, unless.
2 years ago, 20 plus. But yeah, Sergei Samsonov, Calder winner. Here's a couple other number 14s for you, Dan, to chew on.
Can I give you my honorable mention?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got an HM this week.
Brett Connolly. Uh, Traded 2 second-round picks for him, so he obviously must have had a good career with the Bruins if we traded 2 second-rounders for him. But Brett Connolly,
Dude.
top. I know he's a top 10 pick, top 5 pick. Was he 4th, 5th, maybe
That
6th?
sounds right. Like he
He
was a
was
big time
he was between
prospect,
like
big juniors player.
3 and 7, I believe. But he was a big prospect, drafted by the Lightning, maybe.
Yeah,
Not
obviously
sure.
played with
Yeah,
Tampa all those
but
years.
I remember doing that was a lot to give up for him, but I kind of like the risk of trading for a former top 10 pick to see if he pans out. But honorable mention,
works
Brett
in
Connolly.
Florida. That's for sure.
Yeah, it does.
Um
Not
I
up here.
thought of Brett Conley the other day as I saw him in a picture, and it was the Bruins saluting the crowd after the 16 Winter Classic in Foxborough, the most forgettable one because Gillette doesn't have a lot of juice to it, and they lost pretty bad. It was their worst game of the year. And just seeing some of these guys, I'm like, oh my God, man, the 15-16 Bruins were just an absolute fever dream. It was Brett Conley and Zach Ronaldo and the late Jimmy Hayes. Just all these guys, you're like, man, like Stepniak, I don't think was on the team yet, but he was on that
Not yet.
team. This is a trade deadline guy, I think. In 15-16. It was just it was it was just nuts, man.
Traded a second for Conley and a third for Ronaldo. We were all in that year.
Zach Ronaldo, who's such a piece of shit, dude. And like we knew he was a piece of shit on the ice. And I remember him getting suspended with the Bruins. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not defending this guy because he's a Bruin. Like this guy sucks. I don't like him. I don't know if he's a good guy or not. I have no idea, but he was kind of a shitbag player. All right. Some other number 14s. Weird kind of mirror image here. You've got not one, but two Beanpot head coaches who played for the Bruins that wore number 14, both with great names. I'm talking Cooney Weiland at Harvard and Fern Flamen at Northeastern. How about that? Two guys on the all-name team. You got Woody Dumart, who was part of the Kraut line. Garnet Ace Bailey, the late Ace Bailey, who died in 9/11, unfortunately. Was part of the 72 Stanley Cup team. Here's a weird one for you, Dan. And weird because it'll sound familiar. Do you remember who my pick was for 13? Forgettable player. I'll give you that. But there was some sentimental value.
I feel like I know who you're going to say.
Because
his name... JC?
No. His name was Billy Stewart. I'm like, that's my dad's name. And he spells it the same way I do, which most people don't. And I was like, I'm picking that. The goalie on the original Bruins was Doc Stewart because he was a dentist. And my grandfather was a dentist, Dr. Stewart. And then there's a Billy Stewart. And there was a Cam Stewart who played for the Bruins, but he spelled it with an EW. And so I'm like, that's really cool. But he also apparently wore number 14 because he's on the list for number 14. We also have a couple of Massachusetts legends that I'll round it out with. Waltham legend / BU legend Sean McEachern, Walpole legend Chris Wagner, and Joe Corvo, who's not from Massachusetts.
Joe Corvo.
I can't.
That was my
I
guess.
can't forget Joe Corvo, man. Yeah, I bet that's what you were thinking of, wasn't it? I love pulling a Joe Corvo and Greg Zanin from that 2011-2012 team. Oh man. add Brian Ralston and Marty Turco to that mix. That was kind of a freaky year for adding guys to the roster as well. But those are your number 14s.
Shout out 14.
Isn't that awesome? It's not a bad number. I don't mind 14. It's kind of a decent number. Anyway, I guess it's time to move on. Let's talk about the conquering hero, shall we? The Bruins win a couple out west. They're still out west, and they should beat Seattle tonight, Tuesday. They lose to Calgary in overtime. After like the day we did the show, they commit a penalty at 19:59 of the third period and lose in overtime, shorthanded. Then they go out and they kick the crap out of Edmonton on New Year's Eve. And I think David Pastrnak becomes the only player in NHL history. This is only confirmed by me, to score twice in the same game in 2 different years on the East Coast. I think that's got to be true. And then they take down Vancouver in overtime on Saturday, and it is the conquering hero, the prodigal son returned. Fraser Minten, what a moment for the kid, wins it in overtime in his hometown. And it just gives us another chance to brag on Fraser Minten a little bit, Dan, because for those of us who watch night in, night out, I think we're all seeing this kid has serious potential to be a future cornerstone piece for a good Bruins team.
He's done everything you've asked him to do, and I think you've seen what his floor is. At the worst, he's a third line center, and if he's that,
this is the bottom right now.
Yeah, this is the bottom right now.
I feel confident in saying that. If he's this in 5 years, then that's a problem. But this right now, as a 21-year-old, I feel good.
Exactly. And coming into the year, I think a lot of people had him and Patra kind of battling out for that roster spot. And I don't think anyone regrets that decision right now. After seeing how he's played through 42 games, his points aren't crazy, but he's been on the third line. He's been playing with Tanner Jeannot and Mark Haslick. And you've seen his offensive production rise when he plays with someone like David Pastrnak.
Mm-hmm.
And the games he's shown up, obviously, I like to point out, obviously, when he goes to Vancouver in front of 100 of his closest family and friends, and he doesn't score 1 goal, he scores 2 goals, and one of them's the OT winner. Yep. That's like, I don't know how you could draw up a better homecoming than that. And also when he goes back to Toronto in his first game in Toronto, he scores a goal in the third period. So he's shown up in those games where there's a little bit of extra sentiment to that. And he's shown a lot of maturity. People are always saying like they could see him being a future assistant captain or some type of captain one day on this team. The way he's, mature, how mature he is at 21. What's he gonna be like when he's in his prime? So we're very lucky to have him. I know Toronto fans try to downplay a little bit. Oh, he only has 17 points in 40 games or whatever. But I think if you're watching Bruins games on a night-to-night basis, you kind of see the impact he has. He's a +8 on a team that's very bad on 5-on-5.
Bottom 6 in a bad team. Yeah.
Yeah.
On 5-on-5, and he doesn't play on the power play, And
he doesn't play on the power play. So I'm kind of happy he's getting his, flowers a little bit right now. And, I don't want to see Pastrnak on the third line. I think they need to get him hot and going. But at the same time, it's nice to see Fraser playing with guys like Pastrnak and Murat, who have some more offensive capability. So I don't know. As a Bruins fan, you got to be excited about what Fraser's done in his first 42 games.
Yeah, you mentioned the stats too. Like, you are starting to see that on social media. People are like, they're really hyping up this kid, the 17 points or whatever it is. It's like, you can't really tell a season on the stats. And furthermore, he's a pretty big kid, like for a 21-year-old. But he's not like a physical presence, yet he is a good defensive player. So there's 2 ways of looking at that. Of like, you could say, oh, he's a statistical anomaly, which he's probably not. He's a good player, but he's probably not that. The other way you can look at it is he's playing his first full year in the NHL. Like, he's figuring this out. And that's where, like, only Bruins fans are singing his praises. He's not going to get a Calder vote, but the people that are watching every night are like, man, this kid's not being caught out. He's not turning the puck over. He's not being caught in possession. He's not he's winning faceoffs. He's not making bad plays. In fact, he's making some pretty smart plays. And to your point, like if you do want to look at a stat, it's a +8 playing on the bottom 6 of a bad team for all intents and purposes, just not a skilled team. And he doesn't play on the power play. And he's mostly playing alongside Tanner Jeannot and Mikey Asamon. Like, to be a plus in those circumstances as a 21-year-old, a freshly minted 21-year-old, that is really impressive. And I'm going to go a step further. And people are going to clip this, I imagine. And if you do, tweet at us at Garden Level Pod.
Yeah, at least give us the credit.
Yeah, please. Because there's a chance I sound like a shithead here. There's some Bergeron there. Am I saying he's Patrice Bergeron? No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. But on January 6th, 2026, on January 6th, I'm going to say something explosive, could cause a riot, okay? I think I'm the only person to ever do that on this day. He's got some Bergeron there. Like, Bergeron did have the offensive skill that Minten doesn't quite have yet. But again, we're talking about a floor for a guy. And when he is thinking defense first, like how much have we heard this, Dan, over the years of these prospects who weren't really prospects to begin with, but the Bruins would tell us like, oh, he's got to be in Providence more. We're hearing it with Patra, right? Like he's got to be in Providence more. He's got to learn how to play the Bruins style. Got to learn the defensive parts of the game as a center and this and that. And like, I do get that. Haven't heard it about Fraser Minten. Like, he hasn't been sent down one time. He played in Providence at the end of the year when the Bruins were done. And then he made the team out of camp. Like, he's already checking those boxes. You want to bring in a more physical aspect to his game and some more offensive creativity. That is kind of easier to teach than the stuff he's already excelling at. So I'm just saying there's aspects there.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you say,
did kind of say that about Patra,
I'm 75% Irish, 25% Italian. You're saying Fraser Minten's 80% Fraser Minten, maybe like 20% Patrice Bergeron. I don't think it's a hot take to say that. We've seen what he's done defensively, and Patrice Bergeron was never, point per game guy. He was never had the offensive upside that Pasta had or even Marchand had. So if you put Fraser Minten on the first line in a few years, he could be maybe a 60 or 70 point player. So he's not Patrice Bergeron. He's not getting his number hung in the Raptors anytime soon. But it's nice to see a young two-way forward coming onto the team, and a team that a lot of our star players can't really kill penalties. It's nice to have someone that has that, and it'll be interesting to see how his career unfolds. But it's nice that he's a Bruin. He's 21 years old. Seems like a very good teammate, and coaches like him. Usually, management and coaches don't like young players who play for the Bruins. So it's nice that they actually like a young guy on this team for once.
Yeah, we talked about that last week about the penalty kill, right? Like that, it seems like such a simple thing, but good teams can have their best players out there on the penalty kill for the most part, right? Like good teams, the best teams can do that. And the Bruins could do that for a long time. This is a guy who certainly fits that mold for the future. Like he's going to be a top 2 center for you here in the near future. I would say, obviously Hagens is the guy you look at for kind of the future of it, but like certainly that's what Fraser Minten is going to be, a top 2 center on what is going to be a good Bruins team.
And
speaking of Hagens,
mention,
sorry. Go ahead.
I think you have to mention like what's Brandon Carlo doing.
Good point.
The last update I've seen on Carlo, obviously he's injured, but you have Fraser Minten scoring overtime goals in his hometown, and the last thing I've seen Carlo do was, I think there was a picture of Willie Nylander wearing a tank in the box, and Brandon Carlo was sitting next to him. Like that's the last update I've heard on him, but Bruins have won that trade very easily. Carlo is not playing right now, and when he is playing, he's still doesn't have the upside of Fraser Minten and that first round pick that we got. So, just want to mention again that we won that trade pretty heavily. It wasn't even close.
Pretty easily, I would say. Speaking of first round picks, James Higgins was a first round pick, top 10 overall, which could be a pick that you get from the Leafs this year as well. Disappointing end to the World Juniors for Team USA out in the quarterfinals on home ice. But if you're a Bruins fan, man, it couldn't have got much better than what you got from James Higgins and Will Zellers, voted like the two best players in the tournament. That was a lot of fun to watch and was even better than I thought it was going to be from a Bruins fan standpoint.
Yeah, Bruins 2 players on the team got voted the 2 best players on the team by the staff. Zellers leads the team in points. Higgins had a good tournament. I think Higgins always gets a lot of hate. I think everyone just expects him. They want him to average 2 points a game or something like that. But if you're watching the game, you see how well he's skating and you see the potential he has. And the team itself, it wasn't as talented as it was last year. They had a lot of good guys last year. This year, the goaltending was bad. Defense wasn't great. Coaching was questionable. The handling of Zellers that tournament when he started off not even on the roster. And then he gets put on the roster. He's on the 4th line. He's on the 3rd line. He's back on the 4th line. Then he gets on a line with Higgins.
Sometimes he was playing on the power play. Sometimes he wasn't. It was tough to figure out. Yeah.
And in overtime, he barely got any playing time in the game they lost. So I think Zellers was, the big winner from this tournament. Gives him a lot of confidence. Gives him a lot of confidence going forward the rest of his year in North Dakota. And, I think he'll probably stay at North Dakota another year, but I think Bruins fans have to be excited with the way that tournament went. I think Zellers got put on the map. He wasn't really on the map. Bruins fans obviously heard of him beforehand, but I think he got the national recognition. And one more thing, that tournament's awesome. And it's not even on national broadcast in the United States. It's kind of crazy.
The NHL network broadcast stinks, man.
We talk about how Bettman doesn't really like growing the game of hockey. That tournament's awesome. Whether you're a big hockey fan or not, it could get a lot of new fans and younger fans into the game. And hopefully they work on that in the future. I don't know how broadcasting and streaming these days, I'm losing track with that, but hopefully one day it could be on TNT.
Yeah, it's got to be treated bigger. And what I think could be interesting in the future is with how little people are watching bowl games now, college football bowl games outside of the CFP. Like the CFP is going to dominate the 31st and January 1st. Like that's never going to change in this country, right? But you could get a buildup of that, where you're not watching the Meineke Car Care Bowl on December 27th, and you turn on TNT, and you're, all right, I got USA hockey during the day, like that. Yeah. That could sell, and you're gonna see it again. Obviously, the fervor in this country around USA hockey in February. It's gonna be back. Like I think we kind of talked about this last week, so I won't rehash the whole thing. But Gary Bettman and the NHL has another golden opportunity this year, like they did last year, that they kind of fucked up, to be honest. And it wasn't all their fault, to capitalize on a lot of excitement around international hockey. The Chicklets guys had posed, and I do want to ask you this before we get to our guest here. The Chicklets guys posed the whole sports on Christmas Day, and I don't need any sports on Christmas Day, and I'm a sports sicko. I don't watch the NBA games if the Celtics aren't playing. I don't watch the NFL games on Netflix on Christmas Day. But they said, the NHL shut down. Why not play the first game of the World Juniors on the night of Christmas, and do it USA, USA, Canada versus the Czech Republic, whatever it is, USA, Russia, when they get back in there, why not do something like that? Do you think that could be like a sneaky little showcase for hockey?
I think it could. I mean, the one thing I would say is competing with basketball and football may be kind of tough. But
Right,
you
right. Like
have hockey
you're not
fans.
gonna win, but it's
Yeah.
something of a premier event, so to speak, in the
Yeah, yeah.
sport. Yeah.
I like the idea, and honestly, you try it out, you see how it works. You could get a lot of big viewers, internationally in Canada too, at least. But I'm open to trying anything, especially this tournament. Try whatever you can do to try to promote it a little bit better. Because I mean, if you watch the end of that Canada Czech game, that was a crazy
That
last
was
10 minutes,
That was awesome.
and barely anyone saw it. But if you saw the highlights, I definitely recommend looking up the last 5 minutes of that game. But there's a lot of good hockey that's not being seen right now. But I'm open to anything. If playing on Christmas can help grow the game, let's do it.
And the energy there was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Speaking of bringing some energy into the program, how about we just real quick, let's bring them on right now. Let's and bring on the illustrious guest, Shukri Wrights from 97.5, the Fanatic in Philadelphia, the esteemed Locked On NHL Game Night podcast. Shukri, my man, it has been too long. Happy to have you on the pod here. How you doing, man?
Oh, thank you for having me on. Happy New Year to both of you gentlemen. And it's definitely been a
Appreciate it.
while since we've connected. I mean, you're definitely Miss Cam. And definitely, I mean, I'm honored to be able to hop on and talk a little bit of Bruins hockey for sure.
Yes, I am. I'm fallen veteran of Locked On NHL Game Night, the first one, actually. I think the
Yeah.
first vet of it. And man, I do miss it, man. I do. It's such a fun thing to do. I knew
Yeah.
more about the league this past year than ever because of
Yeah.
that. So you can catch Shukri there 3 to 4 nights a week, wherever you get your podcast and on
Yeah.
YouTube as well. Well, Shukri, let's talk, because obviously we all know you as the big Bruins fan, big Boston guy, but you're working
Yeah.
at the flagship for the Philadelphia Flyers. So first question we wanted to get to you, now that you've been in Philly for a while, those are two of the best sports towns in America. What do you think the differences and similarities are with our fan bases?
I would say the similarities between Boston and Philly is that they're both equally intense and passionate in terms of
Right.
just the raw, deep level of devotion and care. And the thing that I appreciate deeply about Philly is that, and it's taking time, but especially now as a member of the media, being an on-air host and producer at 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia, is the fact that I get to look at the fans through a different lens. And it's not like from when I was younger, where like being from New York, not growing up in Philly, where it's like Philly fans, oh my gosh. But for me, it's become a lot more like, just listen and get out into the general public and meet people and get to know people, and you get to understand, like what makes the Philly fan tick, what makes the Boston fan tick. And and having lived in both markets, obviously now being here in Philly, is that I would say the similarities is that these are the two of the most no nonsense markets there is in the country. Like Boston fans do not like being messed around with. Philly fans for sure do not appreciate being BS'd in or anything like that. And more than anything else, I think Philly fans, like I would say in all seriousness, is that they have a high level of expectation, and I see it whenever I talk about the Eagles and I meet Eagle fans and I'm out at the tailgates going to Eagle games, and I get to learn and understand that there's a reason why that they have such a high level of expectation, and they demand the best. Because yes, you could say they've done a lot of winning over the last few years, but basically to simply say, but also because I just feel like there's such a deep level of passion and loyalty that goes in this market, that also that you see the same thing in Boston, but Philly really is, I think it's just raw and very uncensored.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten a bad rep nationally, but once you get to know people like in Philly and get to know the fans, like it's really an incredible market.
No, I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm a New Yorker too as well, but my dad's from Boston. I grew up in New York as a Boston fan, and then when I went to
Yeah.
school, I eventually moved up to here after that. But I'm no Eagles fan, but when they go on runs, I love the content we get from the Eagles making the Super Bowl. The fans, who
Yeah.
we see them after games and
Mhm.
everything. They're content gold. One question I was gonna have for you is there any like crazy Philly stories, whether it was at a game you went to or any callers calling in? Do you have any funny stories about any Philly fans that you've experienced?
Um, it's a great question because, man, like ever since, I mean, I thank God every day for this opportunity that I've been blessed with. Like since like I started at 97 Fanatic back in September, which is just hard to believe. It's only been 4 months, but it feels like I've been there for years. But you talk about stories, and I just feel like there's so many to just choose from. But I think one that really stands out is this was before I got hired at the Fanatic, actually. And part of like what helped me, and it was a big influence in me really changing how I perceive Philadelphia as such an incredible market in a city. And it's a big city. We're talking about over 1.6 million people in the city of Philadelphia by itself. Like that's not even the Philadelphia area. The Philadelphia area is, I think, over like
Yeah.
4.5 million across the metro region. But a year ago, and it doesn't feel like it's been a year ago, during the Super Bowl championship run, I was watching the NFC title game at home because I was like, you know what, I just want to stay in, be just stay to myself and just chill. But something just told me, shoo, they're up big. I think you need to go down to the link. And I was like, why not? So I walk from my house, and it's early in the fourth quarter, and people are leaving bars to like head out because like the game was already well in hand. So I said, you know, I'm gonna go down to Lincoln Financial Field because I want to be there. When I win the Eagles punch a ticket to the Super Bowl, and it's like everybody's just walking past me, and I'm like, y'all not celebrating? What the? And then all of a sudden, I follow the crowd, and I hear we're all going to Broad Street. I was like, okay. I get out, I walk out Walnut and Locust, excuse me. I had a little bit of a scramble brain moment for a moment. Um, I get off at Walnut and Locust on the Broad Street line. And I'll never forget this. I walk out the station. You good luck moving around. You weren't moving around. There had to have been at least, without exaggerating, maybe 10, 20, 50,000 up and down where I was. And that was just one section of Broad Street. There was more further down. If you travel down south or even around Center City, around City Hall, it was mind blowing that, oh my God, there were actual city trucks that were blocked off, and that blocked off like by these trucks, and people were climbing on top of these trucks. But man, this one guy, I saw literally climb up these street poles. I'm like, y'all not joking? This is an actual thing. And this person next to me was like, oh yeah, like this is just getting to the Super Bowl. When we win, I want to see you in 2 weeks. I'm like, there was like maybe 3 or 4 people I saw climb up these poles, and these poles are not short. These are maybe like 20 feet high. Like if you ever been to Philly, if you ever travel, I've been see these poles. These are tall. So I would say like seeing the celebration and just seeing the fans, like there was no like destruction of the city or anything like that. Some people like, you know, on social media say, "Oh, be careful because Philly, like the fans are gonna, you know, like destroy." Like that truly was not the case at
Yeah, it's
all.
not Vancouver.
It's not. No. But Philly, like they really, like they are intensely passionate about their teams, and you know the Eagles, man. Like the Eagles are just number one, and like the way that I saw them celebrate when they went to the Super Bowl, and also the night that they annihilated the Kansas City Chiefs was something that I'll always remember, as a resident here in Philadelphia for the rest of my life.
Hell yeah. I think that's what North Attleboro is going to look like in a couple of weeks. They're just
Lord.
Mansfield. They're just going to be ripping it up.
Listen,
Reach those polls.
I can't wait.
Of course.
Shukri, we do have to talk some bees here. That's why
Sure.
we've brought you on. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about this yesterday. You know, you and I, we did the season preview show on Locked On NHL Game Night, talking about the Bruins. We were talking with
Right.
Ian McLaren, the host of Locked On Bruins, and you know, he was trying to do the positive angle, and both you and I were like, come on. And like one of the things we talked about was Marco Sturm. And I was just like, believe it when I see it, man. And look, this is not a team that's going to win the cup this year or anything, but
No.
I've liked what Marco Sturm has done so far. I wanted to get your take as we sit here, you know, halfway through season one, how you felt
Yeah.
about Marco Sturm.
And he's done a tremendous job. I give him a great deal of credit in terms of the culture that he's instilling, because you have to remember that this is a big transition, like, you know, moving on from Brad Marchand, the last piece of that 2011 puzzle that have been on that Bruins roster. And this was a signal basically sent to everyone saying, hey, the days of living off of 2011, the connection of 2011, that's done. It's time to turn the page. And now we look towards the core of Pasternak, McAvoy, and you know, like Swayman as well. And what has impressed me most about Marco Sturm is the fact that Marco Sturm came in was basically demanding of the players from like day number one, like, you know, defense was going to be mandated. You're going to defend in your own end. Like you are going to battle hard for loose pucks. You are going to get in hard on the forecheck. You know, all of the little things that was seemingly missing from the Bruins from a year ago. But now it's like, you know, it's like institutionalized. You know, you've seen glimpses where this team has made such great leaps and bounds moving forward, but there have been, considerable stretches where the Bruins are like, yeah, this is a team that is in a rebuild. Let's hold our horses and let's be a bit more realistic in terms of the expectations. Whereas, listen, like, this is a team that, do I think they are going to be a playoff team this year realistically? No. But if they make it, would it be great? Sure. But at the same time, if we're being completely real with ourselves, there is a lot to like what you have seen from Marco Sturm in terms of the incorporation of some of the younger guys like Barat Kuznetsov, like Alex Steves, who I've personally become like a really big fan of watching him play. And you know, like watching like some of the other guys like mature, like, you know, like Mason Lohrei at times. And for me, I think like for the Bruins, one of the things that I really I take into consideration is that sandpaper type of play. Because Cam, when you talk about Tanner Jeannot, when he was first brought here, I was like, I don't like this deal at all. But he's brought a sandpaper element that you need, that this team needs. But him and Mark Kastelik has been absolutely terrific to play, to watch them play under Marco Sturm's system. So for me, I like what I have seen in year one from Marco Sturm through halfway through year one.
You mentioned Brad Marchand. Obviously, that trade upset a lot of Bruins fans, as it
Right.
should. They obviously traded Carlo, Coyle, Frederick. They went full sell mode last year. And at the time, were you a fan of that? How did you feel about the deadline when it was happening? And obviously, how do you feel about it now?
Now it was the right move. At the time, I didn't like that it was to the Florida Panthers. Like, I made a video about it at the time, like, that went viral on both TikTok and Twitter, in which that I was not thrilled with, you know, Marchand being traded to the Florida Panthers. I actually, you know, true story, and the kids out there like to say that they have receipts and stuff like that. Well, this receipt is actually out there a year ago. When you got to remember, when Mikko Rantanen was traded from Colorado to Carolina, this was a year ago now. I said shortly after that this is a sign for the Boston Bruins to realize that, hey, you have to make a decision on Brad Marchand now, whether you're going to trade him or you're going to sign him, extend him, and so forth. And I remember saying this verbatim, and I remember like the reactions, you know, at the time was very much like it was like kind of in denial, but they kind of knew in the back of their mind. But in my mind, I'm like, they're not signing him, because at that point a year ago, at this time of this recording, it was like they were not willing, at least in my opinion, to move faster enough to get him, signed or get him extended and so forth. Because the thing that I remember saying at the time was, if you get to the trade deadline and he's still not signed, they're moving him. Lo and behold, we get to the trade deadline a year ago. And that was my big angst that entire day. That was probably one of the more memorable NHL trade deadlines in recent memory. And I'm just waiting. Well, he hasn't been moved yet, so I don't know.
Right at the end too.
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was watching this. I was watching the Sportsnet coverage, and I'll never forget seeing the breaking news. They switched to Elliot Friedman, and I remember I recorded the video and I posted it. And he was like, "We have major breaking news right at the buzzer. Brad Marchand has been traded from the Boston Bruins to the Florida Panthers." And my jaw dropped, but the reaction of both Kevin Bieksa and Paul Bessonette was probably the most telling and the most shocking, because Bez had said, trade him away from the Bruins, trade him out of the division.
Vegas. Yeah, Vegas,
no,
LA.
trade him to Vegas.
Colorado.
You got traded down to Florida. And I said, and I remember saying, this was off the camera, they're about to win the cup again. And when they won the cup again, I'm like, this was expected, because Marchand was an absolute monster in the playoffs last spring. But at the time, I was upset because it was Florida who he was traded to. But I was not surprised whatsoever that he got traded whatsoever, because the signs were actually kind of there months leading up to the trade deadline.
An extension too. What do you sign? A 6-year, $30 million contract?
It was a 6-year deal. Yeah. The Bruins were not willing to match the year's total, and right now he's leading the team in scoring. He's actually, I would say, he's been the Panthers MVP.
He's been awesome.
Yeah. Considering the injuries to Matthew Tkachuk, and as well as the captain Alexander Barkov, who's going to miss the entire season. So that contract looks like he's been worth every penny as he gets older. He's now 37 years old.
Yeah, because we heard it was like the Bruins didn't want to go to a third year. It was, I think one of the rumors was Marchand had asked for three for 21, so 7 a year, which was just under Elias Lindholm, because he wanted to get paid as much as Elias Lindholm, and I can't blame him for that. But I was like, okay, I don't like Bruins showing some balls here, some conviction. They're not going to budge at 3 years, and Florida doubles it. Is pretty funny. Shukri, last thing for me is just as we look at this season so far, coming into this year, there's obviously a bunch of new guys. Like you didn't know exactly what to expect. You were finally integrating one or two of the young guys into the everyday lineup. Who has been the biggest surprise for you, I guess good or bad, for the Bruins this year?
That's a great question. And
thanks.
This is going to be a little bit of a cliche, but I'm going to just say it. But for me, it's no question, it's got to be Morgan Kiki, because there's no way. And I must just put this bluntly. There's no Bruin fan who's going to be completely honest with themselves and say that if you thought that Morgan Kiki, when he came to Boston as signed with the Bruins, that he was going to become the most underrated goal scorer right now at this moment, while wearing the smoked B, you wouldn't have believed it. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's leading the league in the calendar year of. I think he's either tied or he scored the most goals in a calendar year. So it's like he's found his game since becoming a Bruin, and the fact that he's continuing it this year actually surprises me, because the truth is, if you go back to the summer, I don't think anybody could have truthfully have said that. Well, he's going to carry it into this season. Well, I was thinking maybe it was just a 1-year thing. Like maybe he was just a one year hit wonder. No, he's actually gotten better this year. He's actually gotten better offensively, and it's not just the offense. I think he's welled into a very well-rounded player. But yes, I will say that playing with Pastrnak has been a huge factor too, because Pastrnak has gotten better defensively. He's been a lot more tougher, like on pucks and hard to play against in terms of getting him off those pucks and so forth. But Geeky, for me, I have to say it has been the biggest surprise because, again, it comes back to being honest with ourselves. If you thought that he was going to be able to continue this season, I don't think the expectation realistically was there. That part has got me surprised. I think it's more than just just a 1 year or hit wonder for Morgan Geekie. He's become one of the elite goal scorers in the NHL, and to see that success continue has been probably the biggest surprise for me this season when it comes to any of the Bruins. But I do have one honorary mention that I do want to make mention of. I would say for me, I would have to say it's got to be Fraser Minten. I really like what I've seen from Minten, and of course his performance against the Canucks on Hockey Night in Canada a couple of nights ago was the cream on the pie. But seeing him play as well as he's played, I think your future in terms of this next wave of Bruins that's coming up is going to be so good because Fraser Minten, once he gets the chance, because he's gonna get the chance to play alongside Zeller and Higgins, it's going to be scary to watch what he does on that line because you're just starting to see Minten, just starting to maybe start to scratch the surface a bit. But for me, Minten, without question, to see his development this year has been pretty darn impressive.
I got two more questions, and one relates to the Bruins.
Sure.
One is I think Bruins fans are very divided right now. Obviously, that Eastern Conference is very tight right now. Everyone's still in it. No one's out of it. The Western Conference is completely different. But
right,
the Bruins are technically still in it, even though they haven't been playing great as of late. Do you think they should go for it, or do you think doing what they did last year, you're seeing some of the positive things from selling last year when you see Higgins and Zellers at World Juniors? What would you prefer them to do the rest of the year? What's an ideal scenario for them? Would you like seeing something similar to last year, or would you like them seeing to try to make a run at it?
That's a good question because the Eastern Conference is so airtight that right now the Boston Bruins are 2 points out of the second wild card, yet they have two teams that are in front of them, the Florida Panthers, who are currently on the outside looking in, shockingly, and the Buffalo Sabres, also shockingly. But neither team have bad records or anything like that. So if they remain within 2 points of that final playoff spot, that final wild card spot, I would say, and this is going to be controversial, but I would say you gotta stick with the plan for the rebuild because I just don't think this team is ready just yet. I just don't. I know it's frustrating to hear. But I think that right now, where they are in the rebuild, they have made strides. Yes, I like what I've seen, but I just don't think they're ready for the playoffs just yet. Like I would say, let the season ride out, see where you are come the summer. The free agent class of 2026 of this upcoming summer is going to be questionable because a lot of the big free agents have already been signed. So I think right now you play it out through the rebuild, see where you are come the trade deadline. Even if you're within striking distance, maybe you add one piece or whatnot. But I wouldn't go balls to the walls, in terms of going to, looking to make any big ads or anything like that.
I completely agree. I think last year is the perfect blueprint. I think that was a one step forward by Sweeney. I think he's been GM for a decade, and I think finally he had a few wins. But I think last year is a perfect blueprint.
You took one step backwards and 2 steps forward because think about it. You took a step backward. Obviously, you traded away Marsh, and that was pretty much waving the white flag. But then also at in the draft, I felt like the Bruins, they hit a home run with James Higgins, and he's been killing it this year over at BC. So for me, sometimes this was the case where you had to take a step backward in order to propel and possibly spring forward into the future. And and it's actually working. And what's also crazier is this, speaking of prospects, Dean Letourneau, if he continues to progress nicely at BC, he's going to be a massive problem. Like that first year that he was at BC, I was not in love with the kid.
Problem.
Now, I'm like, uh-oh. This isn't just a hot streak. No, he's actually becoming a legitimate like scorer. Like whether he's scoring goals or even just dishing the puck. So for me, I think you got to stick with the plan with this rebuild because unexpectedly, it's actually working out pretty well for the Bruins.
Yeah, we had to apologize to Dean a few weeks ago. We put that.
We
out
did
on
have an
our podcast.
apology.
We apologized to him about things that were said last year.
But
I completely agree. And you can call it a rebuild. Some people call it a retool too. Like I would love to see them compete, next year if they have Hagens in their top 6. I'm not sure what they'll do in free agency. Like you said, the free agent class isn't that great. Alex Tuck is, I think, the best player, and he wants $10 million a year, which is crazy.
It's not worth $10 million a year. I'll tell you that bluntly right now.
Pasternak is making $11 million a year. So it's kind of crazy.
That's a far different galaxy from Alex. It's like like absolutely not.
I think you just got to keep building through the draft and through some smart trades here and there. But lastly, I saw you come up to Boston a few weeks ago on your Twitter. I was going to say, when you come up to Boston, what spots are you hitting up? What are the spots that you missed the most that you gotta check out when you come back?
Wow. I mean, when I was up there a few weeks ago, it was great. I mean, when I posted that video, I didn't expect it to go viral the way that it did. I mean, but yet again, I think it just reaffirmed this one thing, and it's the fact that regardless of the haters and the trolls that whatever,
a lot of them.
Of course, there's plenty of them, but the fact of the matter is I'm still that dude. I mean, the audience speaks for itself, whether you like me or hate me, but you still engage with me.
You watch.
Like that's just the absolute honest. But that actually like surprised me more than anything else. But I would say, I think the places that I miss most, I'm a very simple person. I miss walking around the seaport, but I kind of started to change in terms of like the seaport in a sense that, like, I don't know, I'm starting to get a little annoyed with all these new buildings that are going up, and it's like where are the citizens going to live here in Seaport? Like, I mean, like where are they going to go? But I would say walking around Seaport for sure. Number 2, Southie for sure. Because I was in Southie. What's that? Is that again?
That's where I live. I've been here for 5 years now.
Oh, that's what's up. I'll definitely, definitely shoot me a DM and whatnot. Like make sure I'll connect with you on Twitter or whatever.
Of course.
So Southie for sure, because my favorite sub spot that I've been going to roughly 7, 8 years now, Rondo's. Yeah.
Everyone loves the steak and cheese there. That's what everyone says.
The steak bomb is the best in Boston by far at Rondo's. Go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm begging you, please. And then this other spot, I don't know if it's called Pinocchio's, but it's in the north and it's on Hanover. But they sell these Sicilian slices.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically open until they sell out. Like
that's the mark of a good place.
Yeah.
We should go until we got it.
But right next to that one though, but it's in Somerville. This one I actually didn't get the chance to visit because obviously there's so much that you want to do when you're back, where you once lived.
Mm-hmm.
Leone's in Somerville. Like in Somerville, like this is like if you're familiar with like the area where Sullivan Square is, I know like the 101 and the 104 of the T, it runs up the main, I think it's Broadway in Somerville. Yeah, I think it is Broadway. Leone's. If you Google it, I'm telling you, the Sicilian slices. Oh my God. But I got to tell you this quick story on how I was introduced to that spot. So in 2019, at the time, I had, just started doing my own radio show at the community college radio station at WMFO. And there was a gentleman who I used to have on as a guest co-host. And he put me on that spot one night. It was like late fall of 2019. He said, listen, I want to take you there one night after the show. We're going to go. Pizza's on me. I was like, cool. Walked in, locally owned. Like this family's owned this spot like decades. We're talking about as Boston as it gets. And I had like 2 slices, and I was like, "This is actually fire." Like the Sicilian slices, because that's what you sell. It's the Sicilian slices, and it was just so good. So like ever since, I would say Leone's for sure is another one that I miss for sure.
Putting that down. Put that down. I could go for a good Sicilian slice, man.
Yeah,
That's for
Leone's is
somewhere
definitely it
along the line, my
for
people.
sure.
From so it's technically a step family. So, but we
Sure.
don't need to know that. Shukri Wrights, man, it's great to have you on 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia
Thank you.
and Locked On NHL Game Night. Shukri, really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been a blast.
Appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
There he is. There he is. Shukri Wrights, 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia and Locked On NHL Game Night. Appreciate Shukri coming on. Dan, we've got just a couple more minutes here. All right. And we've got to talk about this U.S. Olympic roster, which came out the end of last week. You've got some Bruins, same as last year. You've got some Boston flavor, Boston natives, BU guys, BC guy, and there was some controversy that came out of this. All picked by a Massachusetts guy, by the way, Bill Guerin. Let's throw it up here. Here's your roster. No one did a graphic that just broke it down by forwards and defense and goalies. You just get this list, Dan. I'm sorry, you just get a friggin' list going all the way down. Wanted to hear from you your biggest. Well, let's go with biggest surprise on the roster versus biggest snub. So who's on the roster that you were most surprised by?
This team is pretty much pretty identical to the Four Nations. Obviously, you're adding Quinn Hughes, who was injured during that. He's the second best defenseman in the NHL, so that's going to be a huge addition for them. Adam Fox was the guy that was left off, and there's some, it was kind of Sullivan's his head coach. Obviously, that might be a little awkward in that locker room, but Adam Fox didn't play good at Four Nations. He wasn't great, but he's having a good year this year. But I would say Seth Jones or JT Miller would be kind of the big ones for me. JT Miller, I don't know. Sometimes I just see those videos of him like being lazy and not back checking or just giving up on his team.
And Bill Guerin sitting there watching it like, I gotta fucking have it. I gotta have that piss and vinegar, man.
So, am I shocked? No, this is pretty much the same exact team as Four Nations. If Robertson was on the team, I wouldn't have hated that over JT Miller or something like that. But when Bill Guerin says, "Oh, you need to be able to hit in this tournament," you kind of just have to mentally prepare for that. They left off a lot of players that score a lot of points in the NHL. They left off Hudson, they left off Caulfield, they left off Robertson. But I think they're going to rely on Austin Matthews to show up this tournament. He didn't show up last tournament.
Good luck.
Maybe Jack Hughes will show up this tournament. But I would say JT Miller and Seth Jones making the team over a few guys kind of just shocked me. Goaltending doesn't shock me at all. Spencer Knight's having a good year, but this is kind of his breakout year. Yeah. Maybe not someone you want to bring to the Olympics just based on one good year.
Yeah, so this is kind of a weird one in terms of the philosophy because typically it would just be Olympics, right? Like speed, skill. Don't overthink it. You've got a bigger ice surface. They call it a lot differently. There's no fighting. But now you have this weird wrinkle where it's not a bigger ice surface. It's a smaller ice surface. But by that same token, you can't get away with some of the checks that you get away with in the NHL because it's not called like that in IIHF. And so it's like, do you want checkers or do you not? I cannot believe Vinny Trocheck found his way on this team. I just it completely boggles my mind. I don't know what Polaroids he and JT Miller have of Bill Guerin. But at some point that will get out and Cole Caulfield will make a team. He gave you nothing in the Four Nations last year, which is what you're going off of here. Neither did JT Miller, by the way. But to have those guys is just like grit. To me, maybe this is oversimplification. Yeah, right. Maybe this is oversimplification, but like you look at Canada's roster and anybody can give you a goal at the drop of a hat. Anybody. Right. And that's not the case for Team USA, even though it totally could be. It totally could be. Vinny Trocheck gave you nothing, man. And you played him 9 minutes in the championship game last year. 9 minutes. All right. Like it's the same coaching staff. What do you think is going to change? I just don't see it at all. And by the way, this is Trocheck and Miller, who are now, as you said, playing for Mike Sullivan, the USA coach. And it hasn't led to much this year. Neither of them are having good years, and the Rangers are not either. So it's bizarre, man. If you had asked me a month ago, okay, you can only pick one New York Ranger to make the team, I would be like, okay, Adam Fox is having a bounce back year. He made the team last year. He's going to make the team. No, instead you'll get two New York Rangers, and neither one of them will be Adam Fox.
You could tell the politics with all this too, not just Team USA, but with Canada too. You know, who's the head coach? Okay, it's Sullivan. All right, Trocheck and Miller make the team. With Team Canada, you have Cirelli make the team over Geeky and other people, Sam Bennett. So there's definitely a politics that goes along with this. Coaching staff, front office, that all plays a role. And in the end, a lot of good players get left off these rosters, and it's not just the USA team; it's all around the world. But Pasta said Morgan Geeky can play for the Czech this tournament, so that's going to be pretty big if he gets that.
Morgan Geekia.
The Czech line. Geeky, Zaka, Pasta, the first line for Team Czech. That'll be great.
Great, man. That'd be great. It's working out. It worked out the back half of last year for the Bruins. So new guys, you said Quinn Hughes back on the roster. Obviously back on the roster. He was on the roster last year, got hurt, didn't play in the tournament. So he is now representing Team USA for the first time really in a big best on best. You add Clayton Keller to the roster. You finally add Tage Thompson to the roster, which you should have been on last year, in Seth Jones, who obviously had a great run with the Panthers. I'll tell you a guy who I do like and is having a decent year. He started really poorly, but everyone talks about, Adam Fox isn't on the team and Seth Jones isn't. Well, it's like I might have taken Adam Fox over Brock Faber, that guy I was just talking about. And I'll tell you another guy who is just living off reputation this year. Noah Hannafin. Like, when was the last time Noah Hannafin was really turning your head? He was a big prospect. Remember the Bruins? The Bruins wanted him, and they didn't end up getting the draft pick. He was a BC kid, local guy. Like, Noah Hannafin is not doing much for you. He's -9 on a pretty good team as a top pairing defenseman. He just kind of lives, he survives. He's just on these Team USAs, but doesn't do much for me. Is this a gold medal winning roster?
It's tough. Look at the Four Nations. They went to overtime in the championship game. So obviously it's hard to say they aren't if, they went toe to toe with them less than a year ago. I know some fans aren't really a fan of this roster. They thought they could have added a few more people and took, guys like Trocheck, Miller off the team, maybe Hannafin as well. I'll say they are. They have gold medal potential just because what happened last tournament. I think obviously Canada's the favorite. Don't sleep on Sweden at all. That roster is pretty good. Hampus Lindholm was left off that roster as well. And also one thing I just want to bring up is if Russia was in this, they would have a pretty good team. This Russian team, their goaltending would probably be the best in the tournament. But if Russia, I feel like it's a little weird that Russia's not in it. But not because of what's going on, but because of what's they usually are. So just them not being there, that changes the dynamic of it a lot because they would have been a heavy favorite as well. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the players, and they do have some star power. They did pretty well, and there's some players that didn't show up last tournament, like Matthews and Hughes. They have Quinn Hughes playing now too. So if they get good goaltending again, I think the USA has the best goaltending in the tournament. I think they can make a run at it.
Canada got better at goalie.
Canada got better.
They might just play Binnington. Logan Thompson.
Hey, Binnington won't be playing at TD Garden this tournament, so maybe he plays bad and we could actually win this because Binnington likes winning championship games at TD Garden. So we obviously have a chance, and time will tell. But I think goaltending wins tournaments, and I think the USA has a good goaltending. The rest of the roster, we'll wait and see. But I won't say we're the favorite, but we still have a shot.
By the way, 2 notes here before we go, because we are pushing it. First one is about Canada's roster. How about for the first time, like probably ever, not a single Quebecois on the roster? Last year, Montembeault was the only one. He was the 3rd goalie, and he didn't make it this year. That's kind of crazy, man.
The French are not happy.
Not happy.
I mean, Bergeron's
Foul.
retired. They can't rely on Bergeron anymore.
They can't. I was gonna say, you look at the last couple, they didn't have a ton. Like Bergeron was one of the only ones. And then before we go, stat of the week, and I'm using it now because I don't know if we'll be able to use it next week. But this is crazy, Dan. So the Bruins are not at the top of the Atlantic Division. I know that shocks you. They're ahead of both Ontario teams, but they are 3rd to last, which is 6th in the Atlantic Division. But how about this, Dan? There are only 2 teams in the division that have a positive goal differential. The the Ottawa Senators and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, that's crazy, man. The worst is the Red Wings, who were atop the division last week. They're -7. But Ottawa and Tampa. Ottawa's a +4. You want to know what Tampa is without looking?
+1.
+32. The second place team in the division is even. Montreal at 0. What? +32. The Lightning are kind of a wagon. As wagony as you're getting in the Eastern Conference right now.
Do you have the league or just the Atlantic?
I've got all the divisions.
What's the Avalanche at?
Let's switch it to
Plus
Western
500.
Conference. League leading +72. +72. 165 goals for. That's crazy. The 3rd place team in the Central Division, which is the best division in hockey, is outscoring the leader in the Pacific Division, which is Vegas. It's not like we're talking about it's not the NFC South here. Yeah, and the Metro, by the way, has 4 teams with a positive goal differential, including the 5th place team in the Metro. The Capitals are +14. So anyway, how about that for a parting thought? Is that good enough for you?
That's a good stat.
Thanks, man. That's going to get me through this next week.
Starting off the year with a good stat.
That's going to get me through this next week for sure. Hopefully we don't hear too much Nirvana tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Shukri Wrights. Thank us for giving you great content every week by hitting the like button and the subscribe button, because it helps us out a ton. And I guess what we'll do is we'll see you next week on the next edition of a little ditty that we like to call the Garden Level Pod.